Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here in Prague and to share my research with you people and other students in different universities. The focus of my today's talk is recent archaeological discoveries from Pakistan, with special reference to the Iron Age cemeteries from Chitral Valley, Pakistan. So before starting my presentation, I would like to thank the individuals and institutions who supported me throughout the process of my research, especially the French Institute for Advanced Study, awarded me fellowship to work on, the different aspects of archaeology that, being Paris, so for me it is, I have the best opportunity not only to be in touch with many of my old colleagues like Victor and others, so also I have access to the best libraries. So I'm also thankful to the staff of IAS Paris. Of course, I am grateful to the Institute of Archaeology of the Czech Academy of Science, Prague, for inviting me here and share my work with you people. And of course, Professor Victor, I would like to mention him, and Elishka and Edita. So they have been very kind, and I'm thankful for their time and for their hospitality. I would like to thank PSL Research University Paris for their support, and of course, the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, provided me, funding to excavate Iron Age cemeteries in Chitral Valley, and my university, Hazara University Mansehra. I would like to thank the administration of my university for their support. So here are the outlines of my talk. I'll be discussing briefly the history of archaeological research in Pakistan, and then I'll give an overview of the archaeological profile of Pakistan, and then I'll discuss recent archaeological discoveries in Pakistan, specifically my own explorations and excavations carried out in different parts of the country, with special focus on Bamala excavation. It's a Buddhist site that I excavated in from 2012 to 16, and Chitral Valley, where I have been conducting excavation at Iron Age cemeteries. And at the end, I'll be discussing more about the Iron Age cemeteries reported from Chitral Valley and their significance. So here's a brief history of archaeological research in Pakistan. The history of archaeological research in Pakistan goes back to the colonial period. Before the partition, means the separation of Pakistan and India in 1947, the archaeological excavations and explorations were mainly carried out under the supervision of the British Army officers, including Sir Alexander Cunningham, Sir John Marshall, and Sir Mortimer Wheeler. So you can see on the screen. The major sites excavated during this colonial era, so they include Mohenjo-daro, the famous prehistoric site or Bronze site located in the Sindh province of Pakistan, and the Harappa, Texla Valley. So these sites are situated in the Punjab province. And then part of Texla Valley is under the administrative control of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and other sites in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province that were explored and excavated during the British era include Bala Hisar, Takhbahi, Sere Behlol, Shaji Ki Deri. So these are mostly the Buddhist sites that were explored and excavated. So here is the map showing major excavations carried out by the British Army officers. Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, right in the middle. Oh, sorry. And Texla Valley, Takhbahi, and other sites. Yeah, this is the map of Pakistan. As we see that, owing to its central position on the trade routes connecting the Iranian and Greco-Roman worlds of Central Asia, Western Asia with South Asia, this region, the present Pakistan region, that received cultural influences from many directions. Its location also doomed it to suffer the devastating invasions of successive foreign conquerors, beginning right from the incorporation of this region into the Persian Empire in 6th century BCE. So Pakistan has India, the present India is towards its east, and towards north we have the China, and towards northeast, that's a Chinese region, and then towards north we have the Tajikistan and other Central Asian countries. And on the western side, we have border with Afghanistan, and northwestern side we have the Iran, and then on the southern side we have this Arabian Sea. So it shows the strategic position of the present Pakistan. So I would like to briefly discuss the archaeological profile of Pakistan. So Pakistan, one of the, although it is one of the, countries that, came into existence a century earlier, but it is, but the genesis of cultural activities in this region goes back to lower Paleolithic. So we have a cultural sequence starting right from the lower Paleolithic till the present time. So we are lucky to have found all the archaeological evidences or remains belonging to almost every phase of human history, right from the lower Paleolithic till the present time. So it shows, so these are some of the Paleolithic tools from Rory Hills. Other important sites include Soam Valley, which is near the Islamabad capital. From this area also, lower Paleolithic tools have been reported. And then the lower Paleolithic culture in this particular part of South Asian subcontinent was followed by Middle Paleolithic. So the remains of Middle Paleolithic period have come from different localities, but the most important site that was excavated in 1960s by the University of Peshawar is the Sangao cave, which is located in the modern district Mardan of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan. And this from this particular cave, there were Middle Paleolithic tools along with other evidences were reported by the University of Peshawar during the excavation. And then we have the Upper Paleolithic and Mesolithic remains reported from different localities, but the most important sites include Angu Gatke, is a rock shelter in Bajaur Agency, which is near the Afghan border, and the Khanpur cave in Texla Valley that was also excavated by the University of Peshawar in 1965. These sites have revealed stone and bone tools of the Upper Paleolithic and Mesolithic periods. So then we have the Neolithic era, which is very famous, especially the Balochistan province is known for its Neolithic remains. Although Neolithic remains have been reported from almost all the provinces, including Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, including Kashmir, in Pakistani Kashmir, and including Texla Valley. But the most important site is Mehergarh, that was excavated by the French archaeological mission to Pakistan since 1970. So they have been working there. Then this Neolithic culture in Pakistan was followed by the Chalcolithic and the Bronze Age. So important settlements during this period that have been explored and excavated since the colonial period. So they include Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Chanodaro, Lakhanjodaro. There are so many other, settlement sites of the Bronze Age that have been excavated by different scholars. So then, after the Bronze Age, or after the fall of the Indus Valley civilization in 1800 BC, actually, some of the scholars have classified this after this Neolithic. So they say that there was a regionalization era in which we find regional cultures. They are different from one another. And then this regionalization era was followed by integration era in which we find uniform culture all over Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, and many other countries. And then this integration era that happened during the Bronze Age, the time period is from 2600 BCE up to 1800 BC. That was followed by localization era, which is known as Iron Age. So during this particular phase of human history, we do not find the settlement sites. So we rely mostly on the cemeteries or burial sites. And this was the era when the Vedas, the sacred book of the Hindus, were composed for the first time. We can get a lot of information about the social and religious and other aspects of the people of the subcontinent from these Vedas. And apart from these written texts, we have these archaeological remains in the form of Iron Age cemeteries. So Iron Age cemeteries are widespread initially in Gandhara. So these type of graves were for the first time reported by a famous Pakistani archaeologist, Ahmad Hassan Dani. So he found these graves from Gandhara region. Gandhara was the ancient name of the area which is extended from the Punjab to Afghanistan and from Swat to Peshawar Valley. So this entire region was known as Gandhara. It's a Sanskrit word that means land of fragrance. So this name was given most probably due to the fertility of this region. So he used the term for these graves is Gandhara grave culture. Later on, when other scholars started explorations and excavation outside the Gandhara region, they found similar graves. It shows that this type of grave culture was not only confined to the Gandhara, rather it was extended outside Gandhara, and the most extensive number of such graves which are assigned to the Iron Age have been reported from Chitral Valley, which was not a part of Gandhara, right? So we'll be discussing more about this Iron Age and with special focus on Chitral Valley. And then when we talk about the political history of Pakistan, the written documents, that they tell us about the political history, about the kings and queens who were ruling on this particular area. So they go back to the 6th century BC. In 6th century BC, we have the inscriptions telling that this particular part of this subcontinent, it was part of Persian Empire, right? And then the Persians were overthrown by the Greeks with the arrival of Alexander the Great in 327 BCE. And after the Greeks, the Greek rule over this particular region was not for a very long period. Rather, it came to an end with very, shortly with the establishment of the Mauryan Empire that was established by the local ruler Chandragupta Maurya in 3rd century BC. And this Mauryan period is very important because it is considered to be the second integration era, because it was during the after the fall of the Indus Valley civilization or after the first integration era. So we see that during the Mauryan time, the entire subcontinent was fused together, not only politically, but also culturally. So this is considered to be the second integration era of the subcontinent. And then after the Mauryans in 190 BC, the Indo-Greeks came into power. Indo-Greeks were those, it was that dynasty, are those people who came with Alexander, but they never proceeded further with him towards Pakistan or present Pakistan. Rather, they stayed in Bactria in Afghanistan, which is the present Balkh region. And slowly and gradually, they started expanding their empire. In 190 BC, they defeated the Mauryans, and then they got control over this region. And then we have the Scythians and Parthians. They were Central Asian tribes who, after defeating the Indo-Greeks, got control over this region. And then the Kushans, Yuchi tribe from China, they came into power and they incorporated this present Pakistan into their empire. They ruled over this region from 1st century BC till 3rd century CE. And then they were followed by again, the Persians or Sasanians, who ruled over the present Pakistan, or at least the northern part of Pakistan, from 3rd century till the arrival of White Huns, barbaric people who are held responsible for the destruction of the Buddhist civilization of Gandhara in 5th century CE. And then after the White Huns, we have the evidences of Turk and Hindu Shahi dynasties ruling over this particular region till 10th century CE, with the arrival of Ghaznavid, again from Ghazna, or present Afghanistan. And then the Ghurids came into power. They were followed by the Taimurid in 14th century, and in 15 and century, or rather 16th century, early 16th century, the Mughals, they came into power, who ruled not only over Pakistan, but also other parts of the subcontinent, including India. You see Taj Mahal and other important monuments that were constructed during the Mughal period. And then in around about 1848, somehow the Sikh, they ruled over a small portion of the Pakistan, including Punjab and some parts of the KP province. And then the British colonized this region in 1857, and they ruled, or they colonized Pakistan, India, and other smaller countries till 1947. So this was the political history. And then recent archaeological discoveries in Pakistan. I'll be talking more about the activities or explorations and excavations carried out by my own department, and I was somehow a part of these activities. So the first project after the establishment of our department in 2006, that was the mapping and documentation of cultural assets of Kagan Valley. Kagan Valley is very famous tourist destination in Mansehra district, which has border with Kashmir. So this area was, destroyed or struck by the earthquake of 2005. And then we got a small pilot project that was funded by Thai Airway Bangkok, and it was jointly executed by our department, or our university, and UNESCO Islamabad. And then the second exploration or survey we carried out in Abdabad. district, and then Haripur. These are the different districts in Mansehra district, and then archaeological excavation. This is Gankoriniotek in Chitral, that is the Iron Age cemetery that was initially excavated in 2007-8, and later on we carried out further excavations at this particular site. And then archaeological excavation at the same site, and then transit survey in district Chitral, and then archaeological excavation at Bhamala, I'll be talking about. That is a Buddhist site located in Chitral Valley. And then in 2019-21, archaeological excavation, Badoderi, Zarderi, Gulibagh. So these are some other Buddhist sites we excavated. And then archaeological excavation at Iron Age Cemeteries. I'll be discussing more about this. And then recently I have this project of archaeological survey of Hazara division and digital documentation of ancient rock carvings in Mulko Valley, Upper Chitral. So this project has been recently approved by UNESCO for funding. So I'll start documentation in July. So these are the areas where we carried out archaeological explorations that include Chitral Valley. Then we have Battagram, Torghar, Mansehra, Abbottabad, Haripur districts, and Chitral as well. And during the process of archaeological explorations, we found sites ranging from the Iron Age. You can see some of the sites. During our survey, we noticed that there were construction work going on in different regions. So with the results, so they reported such type of urn burials or grave, which is typical, Iron Age period burial. And then these are the famous inscriptions engraved during the one of the Mauryan Empire, who is known as Ashok. So he engraved his important edicts on not only on the huge rock or boulders, but also on the monolithic pillars that we find in India. But in Pakistan, we have only these three boulders, which are two of them are in Mansehra district, and one of them is located in Mardan district, on which the famous edicts of King Ashok have been engraved. And when we go through all edicts, so they tell us about, or we get a lot of information not only about the political history of the Mauryans, but also their relation with other, regions, as well as their social, religious, and economic life as well. So these are the Indo-Greek sites reported from Mansehra region, and then we have other Buddhist sites. In the northern part of Pakistan, usually the sites are easier to identify because most of these structures, specifically that were constructed during the Buddhist era, they are constructed of stone, which but they used a different type of masonry to construct. So it's quite when you are an archaeologist, it's quite easier for you to locate or to identify the sites. So these are the Buddhist sites that we have reported from this region during our exploration process, and these are some other important Buddhist sites. So you can see, so this particular site was excavated by the Tokyo National Museum in collaboration with Department of Archaeology and Museums Government of Pakistan. They carried out excavation here from 1995 up to 1999. So during the process of excavation, they found coins along with these Buddhist statues, which are now displayed in the Peshawar Museum. And this is one of the most important sites because later on I'll be talking about this Zarderi Buddhist complex, because from this particular site, they reported a cruciform shaped Buddhist stupa, which is the earliest cruciform stupa Buddhist stupa in the world that was constructed during the Kushan era. It means that the tradition of constructing cruciform shaped stupa was, it originated from this particular site. So these are other important settlements, and then water tanks and wells that were used during the Buddhist era 2000 years back. And we have these rock paintings, which are also assigned to the Buddhist period. And then we have the remains of the Hindu Shahi. They ruled over this region from 6th to 10th century. And then we have the Muslim tombs and shrines in Mansehra and other regions. The Hindu temples and the different are unique type of Muslim graves, although we do not carve any sort of, or we do not apply any anthropomorphic figure. We do not use it, but we see that there was a time when the Muslims were decorating their the graves of their deceased with different zoomorphic and anthropomorphic figures, along with these geometrical and floral motifs. And these are some of the traditional wooden structures of the last century. Old houses we have documented, and old bazaar and temples, fortresses. And then we have the British or colonial period remains in the form of bridges, in the form of Sikh gurdwaras, in the form of other structures, jail. And then these are some of the sites we reported from Chitral Valley. So these include the rock carvings. You can see the stupa engraved on this huge boulder. And then we have these fortresses of the medieval period and some other forts in Chitral Valley, Garam Chashma. And these are the Kailasha temples, Bamburet, and the traditional old houses. And this is one of the most beautiful mosques located in Chitral town, right in the center along the Chitral river, that was constructed during the early 20th century. And then the excavations carried out. So I'll be talking more about my own excavations carried out in Texla Valley, and then we'll be discussing more about the recent excavations I carried out at Iron Age Cemeteries in Chitral Valley. So Texla Valley, heartland of Gandhara civilization, is known today as one of the most important ancient centers of Buddhist culture. So archaeologically rich Texla Valley, encompasses sites ranging from the prehistoric to the colonial era, because I talked about the Khanpur cave, which is Mesolithic, that is also located in Texla Valley. So Sir John Marshall, I discussed about him. So he also remained the Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India before partition. He was a renowned British archaeologist. So he carried out excavation in different parts of the subcontinent from 1902 up to 1936. He conducted excavation in this region for almost 21 years. In addition to large urban centers such as Bir Mount, Sirkap, and Sirsukh, these are the settlement sites he excavated in Texla Valley. He also focused on religious sites, specifically Buddhist stupas and monasteries. One of these sites was Mahala, a small but important Buddhist establishment located on the right bank of the Haro River in Khanpur Valley, an offshoot of the Texla Valley. Here, Marshall unearthed or exposed a step-cross stupa that remains to this day one of the most unique and best preserved Buddhist stupa. And then excavations, however, at this particular site stopped. Since 1930, there was no further excavations carried out by the archaeologists or scholars. So here is the map of Bamala. You can see the Bamala site, and it was one of the halting places for the travelers traveling from Texla to Kashmir, going up to Baramulla and further, or coming from Kashmir to Texla. So it is located along the Haro River, on which a water reservoir has recently been constructed by Pakistan government. Um, so these were the research questions that we would like to answer to these questions. So that is why we started our excavation at this particular site. When did this destruction of this complex took place? Because from Marshall excavation, we do not get much information about this important site. So this particular site, Buddhist site, is also inscribed on the World Heritage List of UNESCO. So it's one of the World Heritage Sites. And then the second question was, how was it destroyed and who destroyed it or who did it? Is there any evidence of post-destruction plundering? Means, any illegal activity that was carried out in search of antiquities? And then why did the builder of the site prefer to construct a step-cross stupa? And when and where did its origin, the origin of step-cross stupa take place? What were the techniques used by ancient artisans for molding terracotta sculptures? When and where the concept of monumental parinirvana statue for the first time arose and later on disseminated? So these were some of the questions that we wanted to answer through our excavation. So this is the grid plan of the site, showing the area that was excavated by Marshall in 1930. And then later on, we started our excavation. The excavations were resumed by our team at this site, and these are the areas where we carried out. And these were the major discoveries made at the site during our long archaeological excavation at this particular site, carried out from 2012 up to 16. Terracotta objects, 317 stucco sculptures, copper, silver coins, objects made of iron, laminated steel, stone objects, and then structural remains include main stupa surrounded by chapels. So these are mostly the Buddhist terms that we use. So stupa, as we know, that as a structure, a semi-hemispherical shaped structure that is constructed to preserve the ashes of Buddha or Buddhist monks. And these were not only constructed to preserve the relics, but also to commemorate important events. Actually, there are 4 major types of Buddhist stupas that were constructed, are still being constructed in the Buddhist world or Buddhist areas. One is the main stupa or the relic stupa that is constructed to enshrine the relics or ashes or burned bones or any other belonging of Buddha or Buddhist monk. And the second type of stupas are commemorative stupas, which are constructed to commemorate important events that took place in the life of Buddha. For example, the area or the region where Buddha was born, it was, religiously, it was a sacred place. So they constructed a stupa at Lumbini Garden to commemorate his birth. They constructed a stupa at Sarnath to commemorate his first sermon. They constructed a stupa at Kushinagar, present Kushinara in India, to commemorate the death event of Buddha. So these are known as, commemorative stupas. And then we have also smaller stupas that were carried during the traveling, because during the traveling, it was not possible to find a stupa everywhere and to offer their reverence. So that is why they used to take, small replica, so that they can offer their reverence. So just like we see in the rock art, because they carved these boulders with stupa images because they wanted to pay their reverence. And these rock carvings, as I mentioned, we do not find in the settlement or near the settlements. Rather, they are away from the settlements, right? Okay, so these were the important structures. The Parinirvana statue of Buddha, cell with portion of walls, a stone platform inside the depression in the monastery area. So these are some of the terracotta sculptures that were reported from this long chamber that accommodated the earliest monumental statue of Buddha that we have declared that was, constructed during the 3rd century CE. These are the stucco made of lime, sculptures that were reported from this particular site. And then these are the different structural remains. You can see the chapel, the stupa, and another stupa, and then the monasteries. Monasteries were, actually built to accommodate the students and monks, as well as these were constructed for imparting quality education as well. This Parinirvana statue, it's showing the death scene of Buddha. It is one of the remarkable discoveries ever made in this region, in the entire Gandhara region. This particular discovery was made on the western side that was not excavated by John Marshall in 1930. Rather, in his report, he mentions that I cannot justify the expenses of excavation by excavating this particular part of the site. But luckily, we discovered the most important, statue of Buddha from this particular, although it was found in fragmentary condition because of illegal digging by the antique hunters or jewelers, but we found enough evidences in the form of the lower part and feet, and then the drapery, which is very much clear. And also we found smaller panels attached to the stupa of the same scene. And then we tried to complete it with digitally, with the help of digital technology. So you can see that the actual figure it was like this when it was complete. And before the discovery, it measures 14 meters in length, the statue. And it is made of sort of conjured stone, which is a sort of porous stone and easy to carve. So this is the only statue of Buddha in the entire world which is made of conjured stone. We have no other examples. So this is the exceptional, feature of this particular site. Before this discovery, I'll be discussing more about its history. Later on, I'll be showing you the map that how we have declared this to be the earliest monumental statue of the world, predating all the monumental statues, carved in Afghanistan, in India, in Nepal, and other Buddhist regions. So, new chronology of the step cross stupa. So in my PhD dissertation, this was one of the chapters I wrote on the origin and dissemination of step cross stupa. So it's a different shape stupa. So the origin took place at Zarderi. I discussed one of the sites which is located in Mansehra that was excavated by the Tokyo National Museum. And then Bamala is the second, during the second phase, Bamala stupa was constructed. And Bamala is contemporary to the Rawak stupa and which is located in the Chinese Turkestan. In the third phase, we have Parihasapur, Tapa Sardar, Shaji Ki Deri is in Peshawar, Serebelul again in Mardan. So these stupas were constructed from 6th to 7th century. And then Paharpur in Bangladesh, it was constructed in 9th century. Sanchi in India, that was constructed in 11th century. So it means that the tradition of constructing this particular type of stupa took its origin from Mansehra, and later on it was disseminated in the surrounding regions. Yes, this was, we talked about the Parinirvana or death scene or the largest statue. Before this discovery, it was, the theory was that the tradition of carving monumental statue of Buddha started from Ajanta Cave 26. There is a statue showing the death scene of Buddha that was reported from Cave 26, and along with an inscription on which the date is given as 5th century CE. But this particular monumental statue of Buddha that we found from Bamala, based on coins reported from this particular site and based on the radiocarbon dating. So it has been placed to the 3rd century CE, predating all the monumental statues of Buddha from India, that is 5th century, from Afghanistan, 7th and 8th century, from China, Donghang, from Central Asia, Chui Valley, from Adzina Tepe, Bamiyan, and others. So, and also from Palonorva. So this is the, we have declared this is the earliest monumental statue of Buddha. So it means that this tradition of carving monumental statue of Buddha took its origin from Texla Valley, and later on this tradition disseminated in the surrounding region, including Afghanistan, present India, Central Asia, China, as well as Sri Lanka. And these are the coins reported along with these structures and other artifacts, so I won't go into details. So these are also dated to the 3rd century. So these were the results of radiocarbon dating, on basis of which we have placed all these findings from 3rd to the 5th century CE. Okay, so then the second important project I carried out in Chitral Valley. So Chitral Valley is known for its natural landscape and the oldest living cultures and traditions. This valley is also rich in terms of archaeological remains ranging from the Mesolithic till the present time. The landscape of Chitral is represented by small valleys along the rivers and small streams, mostly laid on the alluvial plains. These valleys are surrounded by lofty mountains. The mountains on the southern and southwestern sides are of the valley are comparatively greener and partially covered with coniferous trees, while those on the eastern and northern and western sides are dry. The physical topography of the region is generally arranged along the river, the Chitral River, and its tributaries. Since the prehistoric time, the region has been connected with Afghanistan on the west via different passes, including Kunar, Bambure, Tarkari, and these are the different passes, as well as with Wakhan corridor via other passes. So this particular project was, is funded by the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. So we have been, we have started this, our first season field work in 2021. And, this year we are going to complete it and name a funding agency, and I won't go to the details. So scope and objectives. The main aims of this project to excavate potential site to collect samples for scientific analysis, characterize Iron Age human genetic diversity and migration in the Chitral region, to assess the genetic contributions of these people to the present day population of the study area, to reconstruct the human demographic history and health trajectory of the region through molecular analysis, to provide an opportunity to the students and scholars to get practical exposure, and also to promote multidisciplinary research within Pakistani archaeology by integrating ancient genomics. So these are this is the map showing Chitral Valley and the sites that we excavated, major areas selected for excavation. So this particular site is now known as Gankoriniotek, which is located near the Chitral town and near the airport. So it was for the first time discovered by the Directorate of Archaeology and Museums, government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in 2005. The first season excavation at this particular site was carried out by a joint team of archaeologists from the University of Leicester, Ruth Young, and Hazara University. We were also part of this project. Later on, it was excavated in 2008 twice. For the third time, it was me who went to the site to dig, and then it was part of this particular site was excavated in 2016, and very recently we excavated the same site in 2021. So these are some of the graves reported. So this is these are the grid plans we prepared and topographic maps. And here is we are preparing the site for excavation by dividing it into trenches following the typical colonial method of excavation. So these are some of the, okay, sorry. Okay, so graves exposed during the excavation, our first excavation, a total number of graves, 18 graves with skeletal remains, 13 empty graves, 5 graves with evidence of cremation, 3 graves with single inhumation, 4 graves with double burials, about 2. So during this Iron Age, they used to bury their deads. There were 4 typical burial traditions that were followed by the Iron Age population in Chitral, as per the evidences reported from different sites. One is inhumation. Inhumation, like the Muslim and Christian, we bury our dead soon after, they are expired. So, but they were practicing inhumation in 3 different ways. Extended inhumation, they used to place straight, the body straight, and then crouched, a little bit bent, and then inflexed inhumation. These were the 3 major types of burials observed during the excavation. And then the second type of burial was fractional burial, like the Zoroastrians. They used to expose their deads, and after the flesh being eaten by vultures and other animals, they used to collect bones and put them into a huge jar or place them into a proper grave. So this was the fractional burial practice. And the third type of burial is more like the Hindus, cremation. After cremating, they used to place the ashes and the charcoals into graves, or they used to place them into a pot or jar and bury that. So these were some of the empty graves. They did not reveal any biological and archaeological remains, except one of the smaller graves from where we found fragments of bones, but we are not sure whether these are human bones or whether these are animal bones. So it's my own assumption that these smaller empty graves might have been constructed for certain rituals or for placing the perishable belongings of the deceased, like clothes and other stuff that decomposed with the passage of time, leaving no material evidence. So I'm not sure. This is my assumption that can be true or that can be also wrong. These are the evidences of cremation. Some of the graves revealed ashes and charcoals and burned bones. So it shows that these dead bodies were cremated and these remains were placed into the graves. So like graves with single inhumation, we have around about 4 or 5 graves that revealed single burial along with the grave goods or archaeological stuff. Double burials were also reported from certain graves, and graves with multiple burials. So from one of the graves, so we found the remains of 5 individuals along with the archaeological remains, including ceramics, iron tools, copper tools, beads, and other sort of jewelries. Jar burial was also reported. We found the remains of an individual that was placed inside a huge terracotta jar. So these are some of the graves that we excavated. Okay, here is a multiple burial. These are some other photographs, and you can see that the ceramics and other stuff were placed along with the burials. Okay, these are the cremation areas. These are the empty graves. Okay, so these are the archaeological artifacts reported from these graves that include female figurine, most probably mother goddess, a Hindu goddess. That such type of figurines have been declared as the figurines of mother goddess by the scholars that were reported from other sites. These are some of the beautiful beads that were placed along with these burials. The ceramics found in the weapons, including arrowheads, blades, axe and knife sharpener, knife blade, and then these are some jewelries and other artifacts. And then this was the second site, which is located about 20 kilometers from the first site. So this particular site was for the first time reported by an Italian archaeologist in 1969. But he did not carry out any excavation at this site. It was for the first time excavated by me and some of my students. From this particular site, only 3 graves we found were of the Iron Age, based on the burial tradition. The rest of the graves, this particular graveyard is partially covered with agricultural lands and houses, and partially it is covered with modern Muslim graves. So it was quite difficult to excavate this particular site. So fortunately, we were able to excavate 3 graves which are assigned to the Iron Age. So yeah, one of the unique features of grave number 9 and 10 that we excavated at this particular site, for the first time we observed a proper spatial distribution inside the grave means specific locations were allocated for the deceased and for the ritual objects as well as for the belongings. So at these two particular graves, the dead bodies were placed on the western side along with the belongings, jewelry, beads, and other stuff. And the eastern part of these graves was, specifically allocated for the offerings, terracotta jars. They might have contained food as offering. And then we, on the other side, we found animal remains, including teeth and jaws of animals like dogs, goats, as well as horses as well. So here are some of the photographs, and then these are the ceramics reported from the second Iron Age site, and these are also similar tools and weapons and ornamental objects from this particular site. Okay, so Iron Age, but unfortunately, we sent samples to the University of Chicago, ancient samples, to extract and DNA and sequence them. But the DNA analysis of the skeletal remains recovered from 2 cemeteries that we excavated sites were carried out. The long bone, teeth, buttress bones, and were taken as subsamples for ADN analysis. The testing was performed at the lab of the Department of Human Genetics, at the University of Chicago, USA. The purpose of this research was to sequence the whole genome, but unfortunately, even mitochondria were not retrieved. So due to unfavorable environmental conditions like temperature, humidity, soil composition, microbial activity, oxygen level, can be other factors as well. At these particular sites, the ancient DNA preservation was very poor. One of the medieval period grave on the recent strata, grave number 5 from the second site at Thamuniak, Broze, had revealed a minor proportion of ADNA. So that is the only evidence we have. After its analysis, it was deduced that the genetic makeup of this population was very close to the present day Pakistani population, but it does not fall in the ancient population of Iron Age. Its radiocarbon dating traced it back to very late 1732 to 1805. So that was quite unfortunate that after the long struggle, excavation, sampling, because this is, still it's a research, at least we came to know that these sites are not feasible for DNA studies. But this time we are planning to go to those sites which are located at high altitude. So maybe those sites may be favorable for DNA studies. And the other reasons, the sites that we excavated already, they are presently used for agricultural activities. So that is why partially disturbed, and due to water activities, humidity, so these were not the feasible sites for excavation. Then we tried to reconstruct the paleodietary of the Iron Age population, and you can see stable isotopic analysis were carried out. You can see the results. I am not a biologist. I cannot explain well all these scientific sort of things. So, and here are the results. These 3 Iron Age individuals were, subjected to analysis, were likely to have consumed and, omnivorous diet. That is a mix of plants and terrestrial animals, meat, which the present population also, they're using the same stuff. We also, did some PXRF analysis to reconstruct the paleo mostly the animals' bones were also found along with these burials that also gave us clue along with the scientific analysis that what sort of diet are these Iron Age people, they used to have. And then we also, one of my students, so she worked on this, the data that we retrieved during the field investigation, and she has just submitted her PhD dissertation on the same, data that we collected. Human skeletons from the same graves were displaying some injury marks. So earlier to these excavations, mostly the multiple burials placed in one graves were thought to be one of the burial traditions. But after detailed analysis of these bones, we think that these might be accidental burials, that many people died at the same time, so it was better to place all of them in the same pit rather to dig separate grave for each individual. That we still practice this because I came across to see this practice very recently during the earthquake in 2005, when thousands of people died due to the earthquake. So there were very few people survived in those villages, and it was quite difficult to dig a separate grave for each individual. So that is why hundreds of individuals were placed in the same pit and they were buried. So especially in one of the schools near Mansehra, there around about more than 200 students were died during that earthquake, and they were placed in a long pit. So all of them were placed and then they were buried. So this is more likely they were practicing it for accidental during the accidental burials. So these are some of the bone surface modification observed after the excavation. So there are cut marks, there are, other marks that were due to both genetic disorder as well as some human activities, so that were observed. So radiocarbon dating we have already. So it has been observed that the newly sampled Chitrali individuals, so along with these ancient samples, we also collected saliva samples of 5 different population living in Chitral Valley with the purpose to compare the modern age population with the Iron Age in order to know whether there is any genetic link between this modern population with the Iron Age population. That was one of the objectives of this research. But one thing which is very interesting is, fortunately, we have extracted DNA from the modern samples. And when we were collecting these modern samples, we also recorded the local history narrated by each of the individuals about his or her ethnic group. So some of them trace their origin to Mongols, some of them according to their stories, some of them link their origin with the Central Asians, some with the Afghans, some Persians, some even to the Arabs. So these were different stories. So now with the results of the modern saliva samples that we have extracted, and we will be sequencing them very soon. It will be clear to know about the migration of these modern population. So that is one positive thing that we are waiting for. This is the PCA plot of one of the samples of the medieval period sample that has its close resemblance with the modern. And we try to reconstruct the social life or social stratification of Iron Age population based on their subsistence as well as based on the archaeological remains. The major subsistence of the Iron Age population was animal husbandry and hunting, as evident from the copper and iron knives and arrowheads reported in large quantity. The bronze figure of an ibex found from Gankoriniotek in 2007 also confirms the existence of this unique species during the Iron Age. Animal offerings in the graves further support this statement. The animal bones involve majorly the skeletal remains of goats and ibex, as well as dogs and horses as well, and most probably a horse or donkey or mules. In comparison to the subsistence hunting of Iron Age, the modern Kalasha still use bow for hunting the birds. So the arrows and arrows that we found during our excavations are they are smaller in size. There were no other mass weapons placed with the burial, so that we cannot say that these weapons were used for killing human or for war and terror purposes. They might have been used for hunting birds or animals or for their own protection as well. So mountainous valley of Chitral is blessed with diversified flora and fauna. So the people were habitual to handle these weaponry goods to exercise hunting, protection against various animals, and from plunders during traveling from one place to another. As the forests of the Chitral act as a shelter for many carnivorous animals, so they might use the weapons for personal protection as well. Absence of sword and other weapons reinforce this hypothesis and further suggest that they were not using these weapons for warfare. Elemental analysis of these weapons helps us understand whether these were locally manufactured or imported from the surroundings. So we are now also collecting the iron and copper ores from the local quarries just to understand the queries of whether these weapons were locally made or made of local material or they were imported from other regions. Social stratification, generally they were nomads, and there is not any concrete evidence of their settlement. As I mentioned, that mostly we find these cemetery sites or burial sites associated with these Iron Age population. This population had distinct professions, including blacksmith, potters, spinners, weavers, and tailors. These professions are reconstructed on the basis of archaeological findings. Yes, we did find these archaeological evidences such as copper blades, which were used for cutting the rough surface of the rugs, which are still used by the Afghan people and Central Asians for preparing rugs and carpets. So we do have the evidences that most probably the Iron Age people were also associated with such professions. No distinctive class difference has been observed after exposing the grave sites. Usually the pottery Ornaments, tools, and weapons were randomly distributed across the graves. Presence of arrowhead, axes, blade, razor, mirrors, nails, and fitting objects of iron correspond to the profession or hobbies of the deceased. Potters were skilled in making pottery, as apparent from the existence of pottery from various graves. The sexes of burials can also be identified from the grave goods, as the female skeletons were usually accompanying jewelry or ornaments and beads. This practice of burying the personal belongings in the grave is still predominant in Kalasha culture of the Chitral Valley. Initially, the dead body was accompanied by grave goods and to show the profession, but recently the Kalasha people, they have changed this tradition in such a way that they carve the weapon on the coffin of the deceased with characteristic professional marks. Then, for example, a gun for a hunter, a sickle for a farmer, an iron object for an ironsmith. So we find all these symbols on the wooden coffins of the Kalasha burials, which are still in practice. Belief system, as far as the belief system is concerned, the grave number 5 and 6 of Gankoriniotek cemetery have revealed cultural materials differently. Like grave number 5 has yielded copper mirrors with which might have been used for ritualistic purpose instead of utilitarian purposes, just because of their small size. Moreover, the same grave also revealed multiple burial accompanied by arrowheads, buttons, blades, mirrors, nails, and sharpener, as well as animal offerings. Grave number 6 exposed a female terracotta figurine, which may also associate with the fertility cult, the Hindu cult. To sum it up, these discoveries are linked with their belief system. The small offering graves, significantly that perishable, eatable, or belongings we have already discussed, the empty graves might have been constructed for the perishable offering. So we also discussed these two graves where there was a special allocation for different arts and crafts and manufacturing. The arts of the Iron Age population reflect a lack of evidence for mass production, instead highlighting repeated production of specific typologies using a limited range of materials, notably chlorite, copper, glass, iron, and terracotta. Ornaments such as beads, earrings, pendants, and dress embellishments found in Chitral affirm a tradition of ornamentation during the Iron Age. Additionally, the presence of buttons and dress ornaments further attest to enhanced dressing practices. Majority of the assemblage comprises of copper, carnelian, glass, and stone beads, varying in size, with blue glass beads commonly found in female graves. The use of long drills for piercing is evident, particularly in copper and carnelian beads from Thamuniak, Broze. Comparisons between artifacts like incised chloride beads and carnelians from other regions highlight similarities, indicating potential trade networks. Furthermore, the discovery of copper razor, we also discussed, and spindle wools, they suggest well-developed understanding of spinning and weaving techniques among the Iron Age population. And also we discussed about and when we talk about the cultural legacy and continuation of traditions from the Iron Age to the present population, the Chitrali community have graveyards in both the upper and lower valleys where they easily bury their dead bodies. And during the migration, the communities used to prepare food, small breads locally known as shiriki, is offering that they would put on a grave of their ancestors or close relatives. Some of these graves also comprise, small niches to keep these offerings. The tradition of pottery making is not in practice by the contemporary population of Chitral. Very recently, there were two valleys where the potters, they were making pottery, one in Upper Chitral and one in the Lower Chitral, but they have stopped. This profession was not, it did not continue after the deaths of these artisans. Okay, the conclusion is the Iron Age population show both genetic and cultural affinities with the contemporary population of Chitral. Analysis of paleodiet indicated that the remote Iron Age population shares the dietary habits with the present-day population of Chitral. Mostly it is based on dairy products and meat, which is confirmed by stable isotopic analysis and XRF, PXRF analysis. In terms of diseases, mostly bone tumor and caries are observed in the studied, samples. Moreover, the overall health was very good, which is also comparable to the present-day population. We also collected information from the local hospital, and they provided us the list of the present diseases that most of the population are suffering from. The Iron Age population was professionally distinct, comprising of blacksmith, potters, spinners, and weavers and tailors. So these were some of the professions they were associated with. So this is Chitral Museum. So most of the artifacts we handed over to this museum, and there is another museum, the Kalashadur Museum, where we collected samples last year. And these are some of the old, ethnic groups still practicing this unique culture since, we can say, Iron Age or maybe before that. So these are any special annual festivals. The polo festival is very famous, which is played in a polo ground, which is known as Singoor, which is the highest polo ground in the world, which is around 4,000 meters, above the sea level. And this yak festival or yak polo is also one of the important sports, which still exists in the area near Wakhan Corridor, Central Asian. So these are some sports festivals which are very unique. You can see the meadows. So these are all natural. This area is known as Kaklasht, which is a pasture land of our village. So, but during the spring season, it is very green, as if someone has spread a green carpet on the surface. So this is one of the most beautiful natural sports ground where different sports activities are taking place. So as far as the faunal remains are concerned, we have these unique species. And then these are some of the indigenous system of rice cultivation in Chitral. So you can see some traditional practice for extraction of wheat grain. And these are some of the Kalasha valleys. And thank you very much.